Hello, don't know what happened there. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Live from the Works and to Streaming Wednesdays. I don't know what happened there. One second. Let me just. Has it got like an end cue point? I think it must do. Hang on a minute. Oh, I see. I see the issue. Right. 1 second. Failure bell. Yeah. Basically, something has gone very wrong with the setup of the stream here, and for some reason it's not a happy bunny. Why don't you want to do that? There we are. That's better. Sorted it out. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. I haven't refreshed the chat, and it's all gone wrong, and everything's gone to pot, and that's my life. But enough about me. Who have we got in the chat room? Nobody so far. Hello, everyone. Do say hello, because otherwise the format doesn't really work. We had a bloody advert come up, says Vicky. I'm sorry about that. Hang on, let me just whack delay ads on, because that is just silly. Just thinking about it, actually. Can I? No, it's only going to do it for 10 minutes. Okay. Dear. Bloody YouTube adverts are becoming obnoxious. I'm thinking about turning them all off on my channel, to be honest. I'm so fed up with it. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go onto my channel and all the ads are getting turned off. I mean, they'll still be on the copyrighted stuff, but, I don't see why I should, feed the beast, so to speak. Right, content. Here we go. Select everything. Monetization. There doesn't appear to be a way of just blanketly turning off monetization, annoyingly. Hang on a minute. Or is there? 1 second. I could just block everything. That's one option. 1 second. You can only block up to 200 categories. Well, screw it. I thought there was a way of doing it. Just blanketly, you just turn off monetization. Is that not a thing anymore? I don't know. Well, that is extremely annoying. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Hello, Vicky. Good to see you. I don't know who else is about. I swear there used to be a way of blanket. It's just going, yeah, monetization off on everything. No, I have to do it all individually now. Okay, well, I'm just going to turn that off on there for now, and then refresh, because you know what, I'm fed up with the whole advertising thing. Let's see here. 1 second. Channel level settings, monetization off, save. Boom, done. So that is now off by default. And no, I do not want to use an overlay for the breaks. Thank you very much. If I go on here, will that let me turn monetization off? Yes, it will. Very good. If I refresh that now, this is thrilling content. There we go. I think that has resolved the issue. There should be no more ads on this anymore. Touch wood. I think that's resolved anyway. Yeah. YouTube ads are just becoming obnoxious. It's just like every 2 minutes, bang, advert in the middle of a long form video. The person presenting or acting will just and another thing, bang, advert. I am so tired of life. Oh, this is the world we live in now, isn't it? Right, hold on. Hold on. Let me see here. Hello, by the way. Do say hello if you're here, because I will start doing stuff in a minute. Let's see here. Members gained, members cancelled. That's not what I want. Thank you, everyone who is a YouTube member, by the way. Stalling for time. Come on. Come on. Sorry, Retirement of the Daleks isn't out, by the way. Life has massively got in the way this week, I'm afraid. Yeah, about all I can say, really. Who else is here? Lance Train is here. Hello, Lance. Good to see you. Are you new? I think you might be new. If you are new, welcome. Let's see. Do you know what? I'm just going to worry about this later, I think. Yeah. Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to make a promise now. I think any videos I upload in the future are going to be without ads unless there's copyrighted content in them, in which case there's nothing I can do about that. But yeah, the upload default from now on will be monetization off, because I'm sick and tired of it. it doesn't make me any money anyway, so yeah, screw it. Monetization off. Why not? I would not remember that. Let's be honest. But yeah, that's now turned off by default now because I'm fed up. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome to the show. How are you doing? I hope we're all well. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. Yeah. I'll not bang on too much about work stuff because that's kind of forming the bulk of the evening, so I won't go on about that too much. Railway's going okay. Now I'm up there on Saturday again. Other things are happening, presumably. I don't know. This is thrilling. I'm ever so sorry. Oh dear. If you're here, by the way, do say hello. I would dearly love to hear from you. So do stuff and things. Yeah, come say hi if you're watching. Stuff. Right. Okay. No more delaying. Let's talk about why we're here. It's a little bit of a different show this evening from the usual live from the works, because I've done something really stupid. And that stupid thing is, I have, as part of one of my commitments at the Nene Valley Railway, I have signed myself up to give a talk to the members of the Nene Valley Railway, or anyone who wishes to come along. What does my t-shirt say? Keep steam locomotives alive. It's falling apart, ironically, but yeah, it's a good shirt. Yeah, I have roped myself into doing a talk about train planning, or timetable planning more specifically. I'm going to give a presentation, do a little Q&A at the end, and yeah, this is going to form one of the members' social evenings. But I've had a crisis of confidence this week, because I've been putting the presentation together for 3 or 4 weeks now, on and off. And I know where I'm going with it. I've sort of finished the first half of it, and then the next half is going to be sort of more practical stuff, which is why I've got all this. I'll get to that in a minute. But the first part is very wordy and very sort of talking at, and I'm concerned that it might be a little bit short. So I thought what I could do is kind of try out the presentation on you guys and sort of explain a little bit about how train timetable planning works. And then I will show you what kind of the next bit of the presentation is going to be, because I'm going to do some practical examples, basically, of what I've already discussed. So that's sort of the plan. Let me know how you feel about that. Chime in with questions as we go. And please do tell me if it's terrible, because I've got to stand up and present this to people, and that's really scary. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine, but I think my concern is it's not very punchy or overly interesting. Anyway, I'm just going to shove you up there for a minute, and on my other screen, and then I'm going to go to display settings, and I'm going to swap the presenter view around, and then I'm going to kill the presenter view because I don't need that. And then with the magic press of a button, dun 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 dun, ta-da! Welcome to Timetable Planning Oversimplified by Matthew Alden-Farrow. Any initial thoughts? This is basically the open screen, so we'll this will be up there already. I quite like the title. I'm kind of taking inspiration from the Oversimplified YouTube channel, the guy who does little history animations, stuff like Hannibal Oversimplified, the Roman Empire, World War II Oversimplified, and so on. It's kind of taking a little bit of inspiration from that. So it is a good picture. It's not one of mine. A lot of the images in here are shamelessly pinched from Google. So yeah, it's I might throw some of my own images in it afterwards. This is very much sort of placeholder stuff. I may not use some of these, but I really like this picture. So I wanted to use it. That's where we're at. I might get some better photos because I'm going to the Rail 200 Great Gathering in August at Derby. So maybe I'll get something a bit more original there. I don't know. We shall see. Anyway, so timetable planning oversimplified. I apologise if I'm about to bore you all. Please do throw feedback at me in real time. If you think something's not working, or if you're not sure about something, please throw it in the chat room over there, and I will do my best to answer any questions. So here we go, timetable planning oversimplified. Who am I? Well, you guys know this already, but we'll go through the motions. My name is Matthew Alden-Farrow. I am a volunteer guard, signaller and director for the Nene Valley Railway. And in my day job, I am a timetable planner for Network Rail. Hello, Devran. Hello, the Tired Scott. Nice to see you both. Now, to break up presentations at work, we like to play little games in between the wordy bits, just to try and keep everyone's attention. So one of the things I'm going to do in my presentation is a little game called Guess the Station. I'll show a photo of a station, and then the audience will have to guess where they think it is. Now, this first one probably will be funnier to the people who the presentation is aimed at, but because I'm going to word it as pretty much what I've done there. Basically, I'm going to explain this is how we sort of break up the tedium in work presentations. So essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a photo of a station. You guys have to guess where the station is. Mention your YouTube channel. I will. That's actually a really good idea. I should put that in that slide. Yeah, good shout. Good note. Thank you, Lance. Really good. Anyway, so guess the station, and then I'm going to start off with the difficult one and present this image, which will be hilarious to the live audience, but probably not so much for you guys. Does anyone know where this is? Just pop it in the chat room if you know where it is. As I say, the audience will probably find this funnier than you will. So, yeah. So if you've got to guess, just fling it over there. Stalling for time. Any guesses? I'll give you sort of 10 seconds to get it in the chat if you're not sure. I used to be the DTS Workshops, but now I'm Velocity Audios. Welcome, Velocity Audios. Nice to see you. The Welsh station with the long name. It's not the Welsh station with the long name, sadly. The clue should have really have been in the preamble I did there, where I explained the audience will find this joke funnier than you guys will. It's Wansford. It's Wansford Station on the Nene Valley Railway. It's not that long one in Anglesey. No, afraid not. It's the old station building on platform 3 at Wansford. Again, as I say, the designated audience for this talk will find that funnier than you guys. Yeah. Neen Valley. Yes, it is. It is indeed Neen Valley. Absolutely. So, yes. Anyway, guess the station. That's how that segment's going to work. And we'll move on, because I'm rambling. What is a timetable planner? Timetable planners create train plans, which form the timetable for the National Railway Network. So essentially, when you pick up a timetable in a booking office, if such a thing exists at your station, that is where that information comes from. Timetable planners build a timetable. Planners will normally work for train operators, so freight or passenger operators, or for Network Rail's capacity planning team. They're the people who sort of build the whole national timetable and decide what operators' trains can or can't go in. In short, we'll get to it. Long-term planning teams create something called the working timetable, which is the rail industry's version of the public national timetable. It shows you everything on the network. So that shows you your passenger stock movements, your freight movements, your rolling stock positioning moves, any maintenance trains, and literally everything is in the WTT. So if anything's going to move on the network on a daily or weekly or whatever basis, it's in the WTT. Short-term planning teams are responsible for making amendments to the WTT. So this will be, for example, to enable trains to run around engineering works or get around out-of-use infrastructure, for example. Network Rail's route planners mainly plan passenger stuff. That's not entirely the case. As I said, this is a very oversimplified overview of how planning works, so I have condensed things down a little bit. But mainly the route teams will plan passenger movements. So these are things like timetable passenger services, empty coaching stock movements, driver training, anything like that. Now, these teams are split into several different regions, and these follow a similar model to the former British Railways regions and areas operated by the Big Four railway companies. And these are Anglia, East Midlands and London North East, North West and Central, Scotland, Southern and Wales and Western. And this is a slightly bigger version of that. So in pink you can see Wales and Western there. Side note, because Wales and Western are part of the same region, this is why when funding is given for projects like East West Rail, which goes to Oxford, which is on the Western region, that falls under the budget of the Welsh Railways, because they're the same entity. The Welsh government hates this for reasons that maybe should be obvious, but that's the reason why when we talk about HS2, for example, we say, oh yes, this is a railway project that will be of benefit to Wales, because Wales and the Western region are bundled into one thing for funding purposes. So yeah, that's why the Welsh hate us. Anyway, so moving on to my neck of the woods, freight planners work nationally, so we plan everywhere. We create freight paths in the timetable for operators to move goods around. Simple as. Hello, Giratina. I'm sorry I haven't done your lines. I haven't even gotten to do my own projects this week, I'm afraid. I will get to them as soon as I have a free moment. Apologies. Anyway. At Network Rail, freight is split into three different teams. We have LTP Freight, hello, who create paths in the working timetable, which can then be utilised by the operator throughout that timetable period. So an operator will come to us and say, we want to run a freight train from Felixstowe to Doncaster on a Monday through to a Friday every week. And we will put that path in for them, and they can run that train at any time throughout that week. That doesn't necessarily translate into a train is going to run every day. that it's booked to run. It just means there is a path available should the operator choose to utilise it, because a lot of freight traffic is driven by demand, so there might not be anything needing to go from Felixstowe to Doncaster one week. The following week they might need something going every day, and so on. So it's to give flexibility, essentially. The informed traveller freight team amend and cancel freight paths around things like engineering possessions or out-of-use infrastructure, and so on. Informed traveller is a term that I should probably look this up before I do the talk. Essentially, informed traveller is a corporate buzzword that's used by the railway industry, that was designed to, all of our passengers will be informed about engineering work. So it's basically bundled into that. I'm not sure how that impacts freight particularly, but I guess freight is travelling. So it's, yeah. Anyway, so informed traveller freight, they amend and cancel freight paths that cannot run for either engineering reasons or because there's infrastructure out of use or something is happening on the network that prevents the WTT from running as planned. A for sea freight create very short-term... create short-term paths for freight operators. So these are paths that will be bid on day 1 and the operator will intend to run them on day 3. So they might send us a bid on a Monday and they will intend to run that the following Wednesday. The reason I stopped myself from saying that they create very short-term paths is technically they're not very short-term, because there is a further element to timetable planning which I haven't covered here, but it's very short-term planning. So that is a person in a control centre on the day the train is due to run will get a phone call from an operator going, we need to move this train from A to B, can you stick it in please? And they will literally build a path in the timetable within minutes of the train being about to run, effectively. So that is called VSTP, or very short-term planning. A for C is short-term planning, so you get a day or two's notice. With me so far? Is it too late to suggest we get Monty to do refreshments for the talk? That is a very good idea. The guy who's actually doing the refreshments for the real deal is a lovely man called Stephen. So there are also specialised planning teams within Network Rail, such as networks and seasonal. So networks are the people who plan the trains to get materials and equipment to and from possessions. Seasonal and test trains run things like railhead treatment trains, which clear leaf litter off. What else do they do? UTUs, which are kind of ultrasonic test trains. They literally run along a rail and they test it using ultrasonic equipment to identify any cracks in the railhead, for example. Excuse me. And charters, which of course is charter trains. There's a very pretty picture here that I've neglected to have on screen. Let me just fade that out a second. There we go. There's a very pretty picture of Tornado there. So yes, covering charters. There we go. Guess the station. Any ideas? The working tea table. I like it. Again, the audience at the Nene Valley will probably get this one immediately. I don't expect anyone here to get it though. But if you have any guesses, throw them in the chat room now. And let me know what you think so far. This is very stumbly and, I'm skipping over my words a bit here, but this is broadly the kind of style I'm going for in the presentation. So, Milton Keynes. It's not Milton Keynes, but a good guess. Anyone else? I'll give you 10 more seconds. Skaro Central. I like it, but no, unfortunately. It is Peterborough. Again, as I say, people coming to the Nene Valley for the talk will probably recognise this straight away. This is just to ease them in. They will get progressively harder. St Davros Road. Yeah, sure, why not? I like it. How to plan a timetable. Timetable development is really, really complicated. It is Peterborough. I don't know if you got that in before I revealed it, but yes, it is Peterborough. Timetable development is really complicated. They need to balance demand for trains, for passenger trains that serve small communities and non-stop fast passenger trains, the business requirements that of people that rely on freight trains, and there are many different factors to consider when you're planning a timetable. Things like speed limits, different types of signalling infrastructure, the available capacity on a route. When we talk about capacity, we're not necessarily talking about how many trains can you cram onto a section of railway. It's more a case of how many trains can you cram onto a section of railway which will allow them all to keep moving. Because train timetables are planned on green signals. So in theory, the only time a train should come to a stand is when you've said it will. So at a station, or if you're putting a freight train in a loop, for example. Just as you said it, might as well be Skara. Exeter St Davros. I like it. Yes, so capacity is the buzzword we use for how many trains can we put down a section of railway and that will allow everything to keep moving without stopping unless it's supposed to. Many of these considerations are around safety and the ability to recover the timetable if things go wrong, hence capacity. You don't want to cram too many trains onto a section of railway because if there's no flexibility, you will never recover the timetable. Timetable plans also need to consider the requirements of maintaining and improving the network. So this is things like planned engineering works or inspections and the paths for test trains or utility trains, things that monitor the condition of the track and infrastructure. And there's a lovely photo there of the Network Rail new measurement train, which I have been on. It's got a conference room in one of the carriages. It's brilliant. Now, the process and milestones for producing a timetable are set out in Part D of the Network Code. A very long and very boring document. I'm going to bring my copy of the Network Code from work for the presentation, but it's an A5 kind of booklet about so big and so wide, and it is a complicated legal document, and I'm not going to get into it in too much detail because I don't want to send anyone to sleep. It is excellent bedtime reading if you suffer from insomnia, however. Fortunately, we don't have to know it off by heart. It's not like the RSSB rulebook that you have to learn as a member of train crew or as a safety critical member of staff. It's very much a lawyer's document. It's a contract, effectively. In fact, it is. It's a contract. The Network Code is a set of contractual rules which is incorporated into the track access agreement between Network Rail and the train operators. So effectively what it does is it tells each of those parties where they need to work together and how to work together, and it covers the standards and timescales for how things are done. The timetable changes 2 times a year. This is typically done in December and May. So you may see a little notice pop up on the board saying, the timetable will change on this date in December or this date in May. Last year, the timetable change date for the summer was in June. This is because Network Rail attempted to implement 3 timetable change dates at the instruction of the Department for Transport. That same department then came back to us and said, you can't actually do that because it's all tied up in legal agreements. So, yeah, we only do it twice a year. Development of each timetable starts 40 weeks prior to the commencement of the timetable, or at D40. And during this period of development, the operators submit a very long document to Network Rail called an access proposal. And this details any change the operator wishes to make to their services. Absolutely everything. So yeah, it takes a very long time to go through each operator's access proposal. And as you'll see, they will not always get everything they want. Can't you just blow a whistle and let all the trains set off at the same time, then see which reach their destination? I'm still kind of Adam's Family train set mentality. Wouldn't it be lovely if that's how the railway network actually worked? But no, that would be horrendously unsafe. Network Rail planners then validate these access proposals from the operators, and we make changes to try and accommodate as many services as possible. Spoiler warning, operators don't always agree with the changes we make. We get taken to dispute a lot. So these are some of the timetable development milestones. I'm just going to hide my camera for a moment so you can see this properly. 9 to 10 months in advance of the timetable change, or at D40, the train and freight operating companies formally submit or bid their new timetable. And then for the next 3 months, Network Rail works on developing a new national timetable from all of these bids, checking for conflicts between different operators and ensuring that trains can be run safely. At D26, 6 months in advance of the change, Network Rail provides the rail industry with a national base timetable, subject to the result of any appeals, which must be made within 20 working days of its publication. So this is effectively a draft timetable. This allows operators to start planning logistics, produce rotas, and start undertaking staff training, etc. From D26 onwards, train and freight operators can request variations to the base timetable. These are called Train Operator Variation Requests, or TOVRs. These are my bread and butter at work. Network Rail will either accept, reject, or modify that request. Rejecting or modifying the request does not make us popular. At D12, or 3 months in advance, the new timetable gets finalised and the railway industry formally publishes the timetable to the general public or to passengers. And at this point you can start booking advance tickets for that new timetable. The advance tickets tend to be available 12 weeks before the train runs. So if you want to book a ticket for December right now, you can't. You can do it 12 weeks before you travel. And advance tickets tend to be cheaper. It's not Mountain Trains in World 5. I like it. And then at D0, or the day of the timetable change, the new timetable comes into operation. Guess the station. Any ideas? I've blurred out the names. I realised I hadn't done that, so I've now done it. Any ideas on this one? I'll give you a clue. It's not too far from the Nene Valley Railway. Again, I expect several people will probably get this straight away at the talk. Should probably have whacked a soundbed over this, shouldn't I? Gallifrey Junction. No, sadly. Wouldn't that be lovely if that was a real place? Hey, maybe that should be the name of my little branch line layout that I'm going to make for Jacob when he's old enough. Gallifrey Junction. Hey, I like it. Give you 10 more seconds to get any more guesses in. Sandy, good guess. Roughly the right area, but too far south. Hold on. 1 second. Hold on. I'll turn the camera off. That wasn't very clever. There we are. It's Stamford. There used to be a branch line that went from where Wansford Station is now through Wansford Road Station, a little bit further up the road, and plugged back in at Stamford. Hogsmeade. No, afraid not. Stamford. Anyway. Operational rules. We're getting into the meat now. Timetable planners use the operational rules to create paths in the timetable. So operational rules is a collective term for two different sets of documents. The engineering access statement, which is a document that describes the rules regulating the arrangements for engineering access to the rail network. It's basically a list of where possessions are and what possession opportunities there are, and so on. And then we have the timetable planning rules, or the TPRs, which regulate the standard timings between stations and junctions together with other matters. These definitions are lifted wholesale from the Network Rail website. Paths need to be compliant with the operational rules to ensure that trains can run safely and that the relevant routes have enough capacity to accommodate them. Hello, the Emperor Dalek. I'm glad you enjoyed your holiday in Budapest. Yes, I can imagine it was much hotter than here, although it didn't feel like it last week. So yes, operational rules covered. The TPRs, which we're going to mainly focus on in the talk, I'm not really going to go into the EAS because that's very complicated, and this is oversimplified. The TPRs are very complex documents which cover many different operational situations and factors. The training program for a new timetable planner is 18 weeks long and covers all of these rules and the principles behind them. We will be having a simplified overview of the following timetable planning rules. Sectional running times, headway, and junction margin, because presumably the people attending my talk don't want to be sat there for 18 weeks. So I'm just going to focus on the main thrust of how we plan trains. Sectional running times, or SRTs, are the calculated running time between two locations, known as timing point locations or tip blocks. SRTs are broken down into four categories: start to stop, train starts, train stops; start to pass, train starts, passes a location; pass to pass, train passes one location, train passes another location; and pass to stop, train passes location, train stops at next location. Yes, the TPRs, indeed. Quick question for Matt. Do they have a timetable for the sandwich rota, making sure the stale ones get plenty of fruits? I don't think you can get sandwiches on board many trains these days. It tends to just be the express routes. Oh, dear. The SRTs will vary depending on the timing load of the train, i.e. what type of locomotive or unit it is, the type of wagons or carriages being hauled, the length or weight of the train, etc., etc. The SRTs can be extended by applying something called allowances, and this is essentially additional time that a planner will apply to a tip lock, which will allow for a particular activity. So, for example, a train slowing down to go across a junction will have an allowance added to account for that slower speed passing that location. Headway. Headway is a term meaning the minimum required duration between two trains passing a tip lock. Headway values are different for each part of the railway, and the type of headway is dependent on the type of signalling used on the particular route. There are two types. There is track circuit block. This is a method of signalling that relies on continuous train detection through a block section. This is achieved through use of track circuits or axle counters. and this type of system is often automated with manual intervention by the signallers where required. Signallers for routes that use track circuit block will usually work in rail operating centres, or ROCs, as there is no need for them to observe the trains from the line side. So a lot of ROCs are adjacent to railway lines, but not always, because they don't have to be. The headway value will be calculated based on the minimum time required for the next train passing a tip block to receive a clear or green signal. And there is also absolute block, which is the system used on generally used on preserved lines. This is a system that allows only one train to be in a block section at the same time. The signals will usually be controlled by line-side signal boxes, and they may still use semaphore signals rather than colour light, although this is not always the case. The headway value for absolute block is usually the time at which the first train has cleared the section plus 2 minutes, which is an amount of time to allow the signaller to set the route and onward signals. Junction margin. Junction margin is the minimum time interval between two trains that are performing conflicting moves at a timing point. For example, crossing from one line to another across another running line. I've done a beautiful example of this using a stock image there. You see the junction, if I hover my mouse over it, hang on, back. If I hover my mouse over here, a train moving from this line to this line, using this, has to cross this line. So that will be a conflicting move with only trains using this line. The required value will be calculated based on how long it takes the first train to complete its move and for points and signals to be reset to enable the second train to receive a clear or green signal on approach to the tip block. Like I said earlier, we plan on green signals. Nothing should come to a halt unless we have said it should. Routes usually have a standard junction margin value that applies to all conflicting movements, apart from specific values for particular locations and particular movements at those locations. Wales and Western do everything differently because it's the Great Western Railway. They all went, we think trains should be like this, and all the other railways companies went, no. Western Wales has a standard junction margin matrix, which planners use to calculate the required value between two movements. So you'll plug in how long your train is and what the line speed is over the junction, and that will spit you out a value before your next train can cross. It's very clever. I like planning in Western. Guess the station. Any ideas? I had a quick look here. I don't think there's any station name boards that I can see, but there are some obvious hints. So yeah, I'll see if anyone can get this one. There's 4 of you still here. That's more than I thought there would be, I'm not going to lie. What do we think so far? Is this vaguely engaging and interesting? Any changes you make? I've spotted a couple of grammar mistakes in my text, so I will cover that when I go back and work on this. Give you all a few more seconds to have a think. Tell you what, should have started using this earlier. Liverpool New Street. No, not Liverpool. I think this might be a 5-minute timer actually. Not much use. Never mind. Oh well. Pop that back. Milton Keynes Central. You're doing well. You're still here. Shall we have a look? It is Milton Keynes Central. Well done, Vicky. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're all enjoying it. Right. Break time. So that is pretty much as far as I've got. And then, yeah, go back to the splash screen and then come back again and then Here's the welcome back photo. It's a photo of Britannia pushing Thomas around that I took because I liked it. And that's all I've got so far. Yeah, so I think that's about half an hour, if I've calculated this right, of sitting around chatting about, or sort of at people about how timetable planning works. And so what I'm thinking is the second half of the presentation we're going to open with a little game. So what I'm going to do is shoot this evening in front of you a series of videos that show different train movements, and I'm going to get the audience to guess whether these are headway or junction margin, based on what we can see. I'll take some images as well, just in case I can't make videos work in the presentation, because videos are notoriously bad in PowerPoint presentations. So we'll shoot some video, and hopefully that will work. But if it doesn't, I've got a backup plan. So yeah, all good. So that's what I'm going to do next. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write some planning rules for the Nene Valley Railway. And these rules will be just a simplified version of the kind of rules that I used on the National Railway Network. And I will... words, sentences, phrases. I'm trying to multitask. Don't try and multitask, Matthew. Good God. Yeah, I will write some Nene Valley Railway timetable planning rules, and then I will use those rules to build a timetable based on some of our timetables. I missed the beginning. Sorry. Who is the presentation for? So I have roped myself into doing a talk at one of the Nene Valley Railway members' social evenings, which is a thing that I have been trying to get re-established at the railway in my role as a director, because we haven't done them for a long while. Not that I'm struggling to get people to come and talk or anything. It's more a case of I was thinking about who I could get to come and do talks, and thought, well, actually, I could do one. Because I think people might actually be interested in this. So that was sort of my motivation for wanting to do the talk. So yeah, effectively, this is just to tell my valued colleagues at the Nene Valley Railway what my job entails, in a very roundabout sort of way, because I think they might find it interesting. But yeah, that's what I've got so far. I don't hate it, but I just worry it's a lot of talking at people, hence why I've tried to break it up with some games. And then this will sort of be the comeback from the break, and I'm going to show some train movements and get them to guess whether their headway or junction margin rules should apply. That's sort of the next move. And then what I'm going to do, as I say, I'm going to write some Nene Valley Railway TPRs. And then I've got a piece of software called TG Smith, which is effectively a timetable graph maker. Hang on a minute, let me open up. Here's one I made earlier. If I flick back to the desktop view temporarily. So this is effectively what a timetable planning screen looks like. Train timetables are planned as graphs. So what I've done here is a graph that shows loco coming off shed and coupling to train going to Yarwell, train going to Peterborough, train coming back from Peterborough, train sitting in Wansford, train going out to Yarwell, and so on. This is our silver timetable. It's the three train service, including the movement at the end back into the yard. So what I intend to do is to present this in the presentation as these are the TPRs. This is a silver timetable. We're going to add some trains to it. And then what I'll do is I'll add in a second train. I'll just bang it in there. I'll explain why it doesn't work. And then explain how we could make it work using the TPRs. So, we need to apply absolute block here. We need to apply junction margin here, and so on. And I'll do that and just try and just add more and more stuff to the graph. And then that will kind of give an overview of how complicated it is. And then I'm not sure how to finish, but that effectively is what I will do. I will build a timetable, show it on the graph, show a timetable I've produced based loosely on stuff that we use at the railway anyway, and then open the floor for questions. So what do you guys think? Is there anything you think I should add, or anything you'd like to see? Or do you just have any questions you might want to throw at me? Because if you throw them at me, I'm sure someone in the room will as well. But we'll move on to sort of the second half of the evening now, because I'm not proud of this. I've nicked Jacob's Brio. Just because I thought that would be slightly more entertaining than just drawing something in Photoshop and, you know, having an arrow going here, there and everywhere. I just thought this might be slightly more entertaining, or if not, at least amusing. So what I'm going to do, he says, moving all the stuff out of the way, is I'm going to build some different track layouts. Like so. Bosh. There we are. And then I'm going to get people to guess whether or not they think these are headway or junction margin. So, I need to set up my camera for this bit. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum. Right then. Move my chair out the way. Grab my tripod. It just sits there. Right. Hang on a minute. That way round, like so. Lovely. So I've just realised I've got some little laser cut pieces of track that have Jacob's Railway engraved on them, but that's going to be the wrong way up when viewed from this camera. So yeah, that's right. Now then, I'll just flick the camera up here. I'm filming this on my phone because it's the highest quality camera I have now. Right, let's move this slightly to the right. A bit like the country's politics. Anyway, there we are. Right. Okay. Can I adjust this any further? Yep, there we go. Nice. Okay, so. There we go. Right. Yeah, nice. Getting them lined up with the grid on the phone screen. There we go. Nice. Now then. So, I've got some teeny tiny trains. I've got Bluebell from the Bluebell Railway and Thomas, because obviously it's Thomas. Here we are. Right. So, video. Do you know what? I'm going to move that out of the way so I don't have shadow casting on it. There we go. Right. So, up first, a quick demonstration of something really simple. I'm going to get you guys to guess what I'm trying to illustrate here. Here we go. What do we think that was supposed to be? I'll do the move again. a second. Turn this up slightly. There we go. So, and junction margin or headway, what do we think? Just going to watch that back, see if that looks okay. Give you a few more seconds. I think I'm going to shoot that one more time and just... I haven't really got the... Right. Yeah, that feels smooth. I'm going to redo that. It is headway. Well done. That one's better. Right. You can see Screw's socks. Yes, you can at the back. Okay, so that's headway. And then again up here, headway. Right. Now we'll complicate things slightly by swapping out some bits of track. I feel like this might be too zoomed in, so I'm going to zoom the camera out ever so slightly, and then just tag there. Yeah, that looks all right. Much better. Okay, right, nice. Nice. Okay, right. So right. So, in this example, watch closely. What do we think? Headway or junction margin? It's a nice straightforward one, that. We're going to do a couple on this setup because there's a couple of different things you can do here. Junction margin. It is junction margin. Right, now. What about that one? Headway or junction margin? Show you that one again. What do we reckon? one more time. I mean, that was Thomas coming off the railway, but that's... any thoughts? No guesses so far. Okay. I'll do it one more time. Any advance? Is this actually how they teach timetable planning? Not exactly, no. No. This just felt like a really fun, simple way to explain the difference between the two. It's not junction margin, and I'll explain why. At first glance, this would appear to be a conflicting move. Yes. However, it's what it does next that's important, because Bluebell disappears off here, and then Thomas follows Bluebell. So the conflict is actually keeping them separated in the same direction. So that is headway, because although Bluebell started off coming from a different direction, she ends up going the same direction as Thomas. Can you tie someone to the tracks? Hang on. There you go. Dave Lister can lie on the track. Oh no! I'm not going to do that. Okay. Think of a different one. What ones have we got so far? Let's say there's a couple of things you can do on this type of layout. Where's my gallery got to? Here we are. Dum di dum da da dee. What was this first one? There we go. Cool, right, so that's that one and that one. Right. So, dum-de-de-dum, we did that way and that way. Right, let's put Thomas there. Right. Yeah, same again. Okay, so slightly different one now. What do we think to that one? Headway or junction margin? I might shoot that again because I wasn't entirely happy with the train movement on that one, so we'll give it one more try. Still not entirely happy with that. Yeah, that works better. Okay, one more shot. That one was better. What do you reckon? Headway or junction margin that time? While we do that, I'm going to try a different setup. So, hang on. How did I do this before? That way around. There we are. Okay. Nice. Drag this lot back a bit. The important bit's in the middle here. And there's a couple of examples we can do on this setup, which is quite a fun one actually. There we go. Right, so I'm going to involve the tube train in this one because that makes things slightly more interesting. It is junction margin, yes. So Bluebell started off heading in the opposite direction to Thomas, but then went on a different route, so the clash is at the junction itself. Basically, headway is if trains are using the same line of route, it's headway. If they're clashing with one another, either in opposite directions or crossing over one another, that's junction margin, essentially. So, get the little tube train involved this time, and Thomas and Bluebell get to play doing something slightly more interesting. Right. So, now, how do we want to do this? Right, let's... Okay, yeah, let's do a simple one first. Thomas there, Bluebell there. Right, here we go. Not happy with that. Try again. Pulls that right up. One more try. What do we reckon to that one? I'm trying to keep up based on where the video footage is on the stream, but I'm not convinced I'm watching it in real time. In fact, I'm definitely not watching it in real time looking at this. That is disgracefully out of sync. My God. I'm probably best not given any responsibility for this stuff in the real world. Just came back from lunch. What's going on? So I just shot this move and we were guessing whether it was headway or junction margin. What do we think? headway. Well done, the Tea Fairy. Right, next one. Oh, I threw in a third one to confuse you. What do you reckon? We'll run through that again. Bluebell comes off. Goes down here. Thomas goes over here. And Tube Train goes over here. What do we reckon? Did I actually shoot that one after all that? I'll have to check. One sec. Nice. Almost right, the Tea Fairy. So let's walk through that one more time. So Bluebell comes off onto the running line. First move. Thomas does a crossing move. Junction margin. Tube Train then follows Bluebell. So that is also applying junction margin, but headway as well. So he needs to maintain headway with Bluebell, but he also has to take into account the junction margin with Thomas. So he might remain headway compliant with Bluebell, but then someone's come along and added Thomas into the mix. At which point... So effectively what we've done is we've added in Thomas as an additional move ahead of what we did last time. Because what we did last time, Bluebell came out, Tube Train followed Bluebell. What I've effectively done there is gone, well, I'm going to take your nice plan and I'm going to ram Thomas through the middle of it. So now, Tube Train needs to maintain headway with Bluebell, but also both need to have junction margin separation with Thomas as well. So, yeah, junction margin, and headway. So, yeah, pretty much spot on, actually, Tea Fairy. Just two lots of junction margin to think about. Because if we think about this in terms of figures for a minute, Bluebell comes off, Thomas does a crossing move. That's going to be one value. Assuming northwest and central junction margin values, that's going to be 3 minutes between Bluebell passing and Thomas getting the route through there. Assuming northwest and central standard junction margin again, it can be reduced to 2 minutes when the first move is a crossing move. So Tube Train needs to maintain 2 minutes with Thomas, and then if we assume 3 minutes of headway on the main running line here, he needs to be 2 minutes of separation. He needs to be 2 minutes after Thomas and 3 minutes after Bluebell. So he effectively can pass this junction 5 minutes after Bluebell has. In theory. So they will be maintaining 5 minutes of headway separation. But Bluebell may well have a stop. So if Bluebell has a station stop further around this corner, then Tube Train, which we will assume is an express train, might catch Bluebell up. So that's where your 3 minutes comes in. So it can keep moving as long as it maintains 3 minutes of separation with Bluebell. Right. Let's try and do something a little bit more or less complex. There were a couple of things I wanted to do with this setup, I think. Hold on 1 second. Right. Okay, let me try something here. So, Well, I balls that up. One second. So. It's always that last junction. Hang on. Straighten that up a bit if we can. There we are. That's better. Right. What do we reckon? We'll run through those moves again. So, tube train passes on running line. Thomas comes off junction and joins running line. Bluebell crosses junction onto branch line. What do we think? Run through those again. So, tube train on main line, Thomas off branch line onto main line, Bluebell crossing from branch line to branch line. What do we reckon? This is kind of a single track version of a junction at Toton, where the Midland Main Line runs up here and then two smaller lines cross it. Well, a smaller line crosses it effectively, so you have a junction here and a junction here. Getting anything across this is a nightmare. I think it's both really good fun and also horrendous to work out all the trains to release into the real world. It is horrendous. Yes, it is junction margin, and I will explain why. Because all three moves conflict with one another. So tube train passes on running line. Assume that's a high-speed express service. Thomas pulls out onto running line in the opposite direction. Conflicting move. Bluebell crosses running line from the branch line onto the other branch line, conflicting with Thomas. All three are junction margin. Well done. Right, new track setup. There was one more I wanted to do. Let me just remind myself what it was. Was it? Ah, I know what it was. I know what I was going to do. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll try anyway. Okay. There's a bit of glue stuck to the desk. Hang on, try and get that off. Who's been building models down here, for God's sake? Silly. There we are, right. So, and that can wait in the wings. Okay, so let's give give this one a try. Headway or junction margin? We'll run through that one more time. Single line section, passing loop. Let's assume this is a station. Bluebell arrives at station. Thomas arrives at station. Bluebell departs onto single line. Thomas departs onto single line. What do we think? We'll run through that again, but this time we'll do it in reverse. Thomas arrives at station. Bluebell arrives at station. Thomas passes to single line. Bluebell passes to single line. What are we thinking? Headway or the other one? Okay, this one's a bit more complicated. So, these single line sections are, for the sake of argument, absolute block sections. Bear with me on this. I'm going to have to refilm this, I think, because I didn't zoom the video out quite far enough, but bear with me. That's better. There we are. Right, that'll do. Okay, so, bear with me. This is an absolute block section with a passing loop in the middle of it. Technically, it is junction margin. However, unless there is a specific rule for this passing loop, which the likelihood is there won't be, effectively all you're applying is the absolute block rule, which is train clear of section plus 2. So technically it's headway, but it's also junction margin. It's technically both. It's silly. I'm going to film that again. So bear with me. 1 second. Right, now, we will now complicate matters slightly. Here we go. Yes, please, Victoria. I'll have a chamomile if you're offering. Thank you. So, I won't make you guess. It's exactly the same principle as before. So, Bluebell arrives from single line section at station. Thomas arrives from opposite direction of single line section, stops at station. Bluebell departs to single line. In the meantime, Tube Train has entered the absolute block section. So Thomas can't depart. He has to wait until Tube Train clears absolute block section, and then he can proceed. And of course tube train has to wait for Bluebell to clear absolute block section, and then it can depart. So the point I'm trying to illustrate here really is, it seems very simple of, oh, it's a conflicting move, it's junction margin. Yes it is, but also no it isn't. Absolute block confuses things. It's basically down to how a rule is written for a particular piece of infrastructure. If we assume an absolute block section from, say, hang on a minute, let me work this out. Because this is how it will work in principle. You will have a signal box at this section, and this may well be staff and ticket working, which is how a lot of preserved lines operate. So, working on the assumption that man in signal box accepts train from right hand side. Light loco 2-3 accept, then train entering section, Bluebell arrives, stops, train out of section. Meanwhile, while all that's been going on, Thomas has been offered from the left hand side. That was meant to be 2-3. Entering section, Thomas arrives. Call attention, train out of section, followed immediately by call attention to that box, light loco. That goes, off goes Bluebell, train entering section. While all that's been going on, we've had a further offer from this one. Yep. That's a stopping passenger. So we've accepted that. Train entering section. Can't now send Thomas out. Train arrives at station. Call attention. Train out of section. Followed immediately by, hang on a minute, no, hold on, call attention, light loco 2-3. Offer, Thomas disappears, train entering section, and so on. Meanwhile, Bluebell is out of section, so we've got call attention 2-1. We would then immediately go, call attention, and we're going to offer you a stopping passenger train. They would accept, train departs, train entering section. All of that is covered by absolute block rules, unless there is a specific rule for this passing loop, which there probably won't be, because this is all, most likely, part of a chain of absolute block sections. So absolute block section 1 will be mixing desk to this junction. That's an absolute block section. And then this junction to model railway is its own absolute block section. The passing loop is kind of its own tip lock, if that makes sense. So you can sit stuff here to your heart's content. Anything can just chill here for as long as it needs to. Problem is, with these two here, you need to get rid of one of them before you can accept anything either side of it. But it's all covered by absolute block. Now, if we complicate things slightly, and you know I'm gonna, just use a little bit of imagination here, because this this doesn't really work how I intended, but we'll roll with it. As we looked at earlier, if we assume this is a 2-track railway, I'm not going to film this bit, I'm just going to explain. If you assume this is a 2-track bit, and you have trains that terminate in this station. So let's say this is a station, and you have Bluebell, which is going to... Well, no, actually, let's do this properly. Tube train is a diesel or electric multiple unit. You've got other trains wanting to pass like so. Now, tube train arrives at the station. Tube train terminates. Tube train needs to move over to platform 2. So tube train crosses junction, goes to platform 2. Thomas is then free to pass here. This is all track circuit block, we will assume. Tube train disappears off. The junction margin rule applies between Bluebell and the tube train. Well, no, sorry, no, that's not correct. Both are headway, because these are going in the same direction. Thomas and the tube train are also going in the same direction, except the tube train split off. But because they were travelling in the same direction to begin with, it's headway. So no junction margin applies here. It's all headway. Again, I'm not going to... Actually, no, I am going to film this. This is a good example. Hang on a minute. Yeah. So I've veered off on a weird tangent here, I think. But I hope it's at least vaguely interesting, if nothing else. Hang on. Right. Zoom in slightly. Drag the track over here. Here we are. Pop another section of track in there. There we go. Nice. Nice. I've run out of track, is what's happened here. Right, so. Shift all this over slightly. Here we go. And then chill over there. Right, nice. Okay, here we go. There we are. I hope this doesn't turn into Quintus Hill. I was just thinking that. Oh dear. Anyway, so that's going to form the next part of the presentation. I'm not going to faff around with Excel documents now because my brain hurts as it is. But yeah, that is essentially how I will present the next bit of the presentation. What do we think? Because, as I say, I'm not convinced this isn't entirely rubbish. But it's... oh dear. Right. Just lose the tripod because we don't need that anymore. And then I will take JJ's Brio back upstairs when we've finished and they will never know. I'm seeing lots of emojis, which is encouraging. Is that a good thing? I'm not sure. I hope that's a good thing. I think it might be. Ah, there we go. Right. Hang on. It's a bit of my tripod that I took off to make accessing things easier. 1 second. Very good. Thank you. So, I shall do, computer studio mode. Right, what I shall do is just get a couple of snapshots of the locos and such, so that we can words, sentences, phrases, so that we can include that in the presentation. The three engines. Nice. Okay. Separate the points up. There we go. Jacob is now a timetabling expert. Thank you. A minute. That piece was the wrong way round and it was annoying me. Dun dun dun. There we go. Nice. Let's move the webcam out of the way. And the cotton buds, no one needs to see them. There we are. There we go. Computer broadcast mode. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, having sat down and done a few of those examples and kind of explained them to you guys, I'm feeling a little bit more confident. So this stream has very much done its job. So thank you very much. But yeah, so that will be me coming back from the break. And then at some point I've got to sit down and write some TPRs for the Nene Valley Railway. Would anyone be interested in seeing a TPR document? If you're not, I won't bother, but if anyone's interested, I can grab one off the Network Rail website and show you how some of this stuff works. Right. As we were. I mean, having said that, now I need to go and look up the TPRs again. There we are. Da da dee da dum, da 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 do, da 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 dum. Has anyone got any constructive criticism that they would level at that whole thing? Because if anything you guys think might be useful, I'll take the feedback. Well up for the feedback. So, right. Hang on a minute. Oh, no, hang on a minute. This is all zip files. Hold on. Open that. Dum diddy dum da da dee da 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 do da 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 dum. Somewhere in here, I think there should be a chapter thing. Hang on a minute. I thought there was in here. There we are. So we'll do that, and if we open that one as well. I'm just anticipating somebody will say, yes, definitely show us a TPR document. Found a bit that is relevant. I'm going to inflict these on you anyway, because I think this is vaguely interesting. So here we are. This is the Northwestern Central Timetable Planning Rules. If I open this up, on the right hand side here you can see it's all broken down into categories. This is mainly where I live, in section 5, which shows all the section run times. Now if we take a very basic example, and we'll look at MD101, Euston to Armitage Junction, so that's the West Coast Main Line, southern bit effectively. It's 3 minutes in the up and down direction between Euston and Camden Junction, including Camden Junction. 3 minutes on the fast lines from Camden Junction to Hanslope Junction, or 4 on the slow lines, but also 3 minutes of headway applies in both directions between Denby Hall South and Milton Keynes Central. So far, so obvious. Thank you, Vicky. That's really kind. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah, so this is the basics for that. And then junction margin wise, we've got the standard values. If we scroll down to this bit, here we are, standard margin values. Between all conflicting moves except as below, so it's 3 minutes, or second move is a crossing move. Hang on, I think I might have explained one of those wrong earlier. Sorry. Oh god, I get myself in a muddle, I really do. Okay, so where the second move is doing a crossing move... No, I did explain that correctly. So where the second move is crossing a line, you can allow 2 minutes. Where it's a conflicting move and not crossing a line, you allow 3. That's the standard margin. I knew what I was talking about. Anyway, yeah. Oh dear, yeah. I may have explained that in the wrong order, but it's fine. It's all good. Right. So that is 3 minutes, but second move is crossing moves. Right. No, I did that in the wrong order earlier. Right, okay. I have to remember that for the presentation itself. Where's my failure bell gone? Here we are. Oh dear. Right, so there is that. Okay. So that's your standard junction margin. Now, if we have a look at SC145, which is Fort William to Mallaig, this gets a bit complicated because this is a token block. So it's I'm not recognising RB. I've not planned much up here, so it's all... Here we are. On a second. Let me find a definition for RB. That would explain it. I've picked a really bad example here, I fear. A following train must wait 1 minute for the train in front to clear the section, then 1 minute to carry out a token exchange before it can depart. Okay, so it is absolute block plus 2, but just said slightly differently. Fine, no problem. So Fort William to Loch-Ely, outbound, is RB, so it needs for a train to clear that section. Loch-Ely to Glenfinnan, that is a single line section. There's a passing loop at Glenfinnan. So between Glenfinnan and Fort William, if we assume that is a single line section, it says there, long section token can be given between Fort William and Glenfinnan in both directions if available. So basically that means nothing's in front of you, nothing's going to be following you, you can have a token for that whole line. It's all electronic on the Fort William line, but assuming they're using staff working, then yeah, they get handed the section token for that. There's a passing place at Glenfinnan, and yeah, that's all effectively absolute block. Now, if we look in the junction margin rules, and this is probably going to be a really bad example, because again, I haven't planned anything on this section of railway, so this is new to me as well. But if we have a look on the line of route here for SC145, here we are, Fort William to Mallaig. Now, Glenfinnan. There is no junction margin rule for Glenfinnan. There is a dwell time rule, which is overcomplicating matters somewhat, but basically there's no junction margin rule. So the only rule you apply is the absolute block rule. as discussed with our passing loop example earlier. There's no junction margin rule for that, so you apply the headway rule, which is absolute block plus 2. So train comes out of single line section, 2 minutes to allow you to clear that, offer it, and send it back again, and send a train back again. That's headway, even though they're conflicting movements. Yeah, I never said it was straightforward, did I? No, it's oh dear. But yes, that's broadly what I'm trying to achieve, and I'll do all the fiddly graph bits another time because my brain hurts now. Yeah, this is why when we're planning we refer to the TPRs all the time, because we have to have an understanding of this stuff, but it's good to have the rules open when you're planning, because you can literally follow your train through the rules and just check everything is doing what it's supposed to do. It's a very complex subject, as I say. Oh dear. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there because I am exhausted and I've still got the washing up to do. But yeah, that's. I hope that was somewhat interesting, if nothing else. I think it's got some legs, but not sure. Hang on a second. Let me just just checking my diary. I don't think I've got anything on next week. I think it's just standard week next week. I haven't got anything on a Wednesday now for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So happy days. Cool. Right, don't know what we're doing next week yet. Might do some model building again, or I might do something over on the gaming channel. I haven't decided, but I will do something, certainly. Yeah. Oh dear. I don't know. I'm too tired for this nonsense. Anyway, I hope that was interesting. Apologies if I bored you all to tears. But yeah, that's been a confidence boost, actually. It's given me an idea of how long to allow for things. I reckon the whole thing's probably going to be about an hour, give or take. So it's not too bad. Yeah. Yeah. Right, I'm going to go now. I'll see you next week. Have a fantastic 7 days before I see you again. And yeah, let's all just plod along in a world that is increasingly awful, I guess. Yeah, I'm in a low mood, can you tell? Bloody bipolar. Anyway, good night, everybody. See you next time. Much love to all of you. Bye-bye.